Trollord Games. Join the fray. Trollord Games. Join the fray.
Yeah, I thought I had it that time. I failed. You got to turn the things off, so I turned the starting soon. I need to just stop using the starting soon altogether. So I turned it off, and it was supposed to go to the intro, but it clearly didn't. And then my brain was like, well, let's just carry on. No, I want to do the intro. So that's where we ended. I need to get up here late one night and practice it, clearly. I need a producer. Where's my producer? Chuck. Chuck has wandered on. Okay, what are we doing? Can everybody hear me, I assume? I assume that sound and video's all coming through. Clearly the video is. Tim's trying to send me a message. Hold on. I cannot blah, blah, blah. Okay. Alright, good deal. Alright, so Tim's out. So I'm on my own. Oh, yeah, and I gotta get some info to Jason. Blah, 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 blah. All stuff. All stuff. Alright, good things going on. Alright, so we can hear it. So you can hear it. That's a good deal. So we are here for GM's. Hey, Tim, we need to change the change the title. We have lost good Mr. Babunski for a couple of days. He is he's taking care of some issues. So Tim and I are picking up where he, where he normally does stuff, and we're getting it. We're getting it. Eventually we'll get it. Monkas. So how is everybody doing today? Yes, indeed, it is Thursday. We're one day away from the weekend. It's been a crazy productive week here at TLG, so we're pretty excited about it. If we can keep this focus and this going on, we should be wrapping up the Starship Warden, Monster Treasures of Air. Those might be done tomorrow. We should have those wrapped up, and then the Player's Handbook maybe a week out. I've got the Adventure Spellbook. Peter turned that back over to me. I'm going through and cleaning up a little bit. I'm going to turn it back over to him. So we're looking at a lot of projects getting wrapped up very, very quickly if we can maintain this focus and avoid blizzards and snowstorms and rampaging owl bears or whatever else is going on out there. Yes, it's good. It's good to have a productive week. Of course, after last week and the snow blizzard, it's, you can't help but beat it, I suppose. But anyways, we are here for GM's Tricks of the Trade number 79. We're doing another one, just kind of, just some random, slizzard, just some random Tricks of the Trade this week. And then we'll wrap up, I think, Art of War next week, number 3 or something like that. I can't even say those S and L. I can't do them together. I'm out. I'm out. Mic drop. Is that what they do? Is that what the young people do now? Is mic drop? In my day. At any rate, we'll give it a few minutes. Let people wander in. I see what's happening. I think we're doing a free PDF. What are we doing, Tim? We're doing something. He just told me. We are doing a free PDF giveaway today. Excellent. So, there you go. Hang out, and we're giving something away. I have no idea what it is. Let's see. That was a few years ago. Wait, what? My brain's already wandered on to, to whatever topic I was talking about. So the 𝐓𝐫𝐚𝐝 second edit is, I haven't actually checked this week, being focused on the other knuckleheads, but second edit, last I checked, was in chapter 9 or 10, and those are the big chapters. So the last like 10 chapters are actually much smaller. So I'm hoping to see, my shirt just completely came unbuttoned. I have no idea what's going on over here. But so the way this happens theoretically, we will wrap up 2 projects either today or Monday, Starship Warden and the Monster Treasure Red 5th printing. And then it's all hands on the Player's Handbook and the 𝐓𝐫𝐚𝐝, and we will get those things wrapped up very, very quickly, especially the Player's Handbook. That's my primary focus. We got a dwindling supply of 7th printing. I'm a little surprised it's lasted this long. We haven't been pushing it at all. We haven't been, you can still get the Player's Handbook for free, downloaded. I haven't pushed any of that stuff. We haven't thrown that stuff around the networks or mailing lists or anywhere, because we've only got a few hundred copies left. And one good rush and we'll be wiped out and have no 𝐓𝐫𝐚𝐝 or Player's Handbook, which is not good. So we're hoping to get this Player's Handbook knocked down pretty quick, and the 𝐓𝐫𝐚𝐝, once we have that second edit, the layout's not going to be that hard. It's a kind of a, the Castle Keeper's Guide isn't, with the Monsters book, you gotta pair monster pictures with monster art and do all this column adjustment and all that goobly-goop. But with the 𝐓𝐫𝐚𝐝, it's really column to text, column, and I'm cutting a lot of the art out. This is not an art book; it's an informational book. The art that's going to be in there is going to be hopefully primarily relevant material. I'm trying to do that in the Player's Handbook as well. I'm cutting most of the art out of the back of the book, but there will be some pictures. Like, for instance, we've got a picture of a warrior, I think he is. I can't remember what Peter drew, with a torch going down a hallway, and that's going to go next to the light section. So we actually get art that's a little bit more informative rather than just kind of, window dressing. So that's what we're hoping to do. The 𝐓𝐫𝐚𝐝, though, I'm not at all inclined to have a lot of art in it. We've added a lot of content, and not a lot of content, but we've added enough content that it's already going to be pushing that limit where I'm comfortable printing the book. And the pictures from Elisa are going to take up a lot of space, and I'm not going to shrink those. Those are really good pictures. They're really good cartography that shows you the sizes of cities and whatnot, and this is kind of in that vein of informative art that I want to stick with. So we'll see what's happening there. So at any rate, lots of forward motion, and I'm hoping that we can maintain this pace and keep it rolling along. If we do, it will not be long before the Player's Handbook, the Castle Keeper's Guide, the Adventure Spell Book, the what is the other one? We're doing advanced classes? No, expanded classes, Starship Warden, and the Monster Treasure Red 5th printing are done. And all of that's out through the pipe, and then we're down to the NPC Almanac, which that will then get our focus. And that we've already got Jeremy stepped up and doing the editing, and so we've got that rolling. So lots and lots of stuff going on. Let's see. Oh, I know it's not an AMA, but since we're throwing questions at you, would you ever release a Cthulhu Mythos book for CNC? We've definitely talked about it. That license, I believe they've got an open license with Cthulhu now. That would fall under the Amazing Adventures logo. And Jason and I have had that conversation before. Part of the problem that we're running into constantly, and it's not a problem, it's a great thing, is we're constantly running out of these books and constantly having to reprint them. And the reprints, of course, take up a lot of energy, effort, and time, and blah, 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 blah. So certain projects keep getting kicked, but the Cthulhu stuff has definitely been a conversation. There's all kinds of very interesting conversations that we're having around here. We will see if they come to fruition. We always shoot high, but we'll see. It is, I think, but as opposed to reinventing the wheel, and this would be up Jason 𝐓𝐫𝐚𝐝's. This is Jason 𝐓𝐫𝐚𝐝's really expertise. Jason, far more than I do, follows all of the licenses the games, who has what and what's where, and when this came out and that came out. And I play Castles and Crusades. That's my thing. So I don't follow a lot of the other stuff. Vaguely curious about Dungeon Crawl Classics just because I love Joe Goodman so much, but and Bill Webb's Swords and Wizardry. But I'd have to dive into Jason and say, hey, is this something we would want to do public domain? I also have a pretty tight moral compass when it comes to other people's property. I know that it might be public domain, but like for the Burroughs material, a lot of Burroughs stuff is public domain, but I'm not going to publish anything Burroughs without the permission of the Burroughs estate, because the Edgar Rice Burroughs' family actually still owns. I mean, they still derive income from that, and I wouldn't want to take anyone's income if it's something that's, I don't know, what is that book that I love so much, The Worm Oribus? That's some old fantasy science fiction book from the 1920s. That would be kind of cool to do, but yeah. So I'd have to see the whole Cthulhu thing, how that all. I get the public domain stuff, but I'm always a little bit reluctant to just start snatching property. That said, the Siege Engine is tailor-made for both Cthulhu and Conan and John Carter of Mars. That stuff would all be badass. Turinvar knows it. Oribus was just a cool book. It was so different. It's in the 1920s, right? It was written in like 23, 24, and it's so very, very different. It's before Tolkien, and all of the publishing houses got it in their head that everything has to be like Tolkien, which is absurd. So it's before traditional fantasy. It's really good. If you get a chance, check that book out. It's just a good book. It's different, and I like different shit. And just anything that's a little bit different. There you go. Tolkien loved the Worm Oribus, so you can't go wrong with that. I just finished the appendix last week. The appendix is in Return of the King last week. Yes, very, very, very different. Love it, love it, love it. There's a lot of stuff from the 1920s when fantasy was really beginning to kind of come into its own. It's very, very cool. All right, but we are here for GM's Tricks of the Trade. Oh, that's very cool, Vic Danger. It's a small world. Not very many people know the Worm Oribus. We must be a select crowd here. All right, so we're going to dive right into GM's Tricks of the Trade. This is number 679, not 69, 79, and it's just some random thoughts. I'm running a bunch of youngsters through the games, through a campaign, and there's questions that are popping up, and I just, it occurs to me that a lot of this stuff isn't. I do it just kind of second nature, so they don't, and it always kind of catches me a little bit off guard. So I thought I'd throw some of these up that have kind of come across the screen in the last, couple weeks. One of the funniest, and this is the first GM Tricks of the Trade for the day, was how you roll high damage. Now, for those of us for a little bit who predate, son of a bitch. I forgot. I gotta make a note. I keep forgetting, and my brain just. All right. There. I have made a note. It's a project I've been working on for a while, and I just keep forgetting about it. And it's done. It just needs final approval and uploading, and it just keeps getting knocked to the back. Anyway, so for those of us who predate Captain America Lynch, oops, sorry about that. For those of us who predate what do they call it? The apps, the dice rolling apps. You roll dice. If you really didn't have a whole lot of choices. If your wizard was doing 24 d6 points of damage, or 18 points, 6 d6 points of damage, or your dragon was doing 15 d8 points of damage, whatever it was, you rolled the dice and you added it all up. There's a simple shortcut where you can roll one dice and multiply it by whatever the hit dice or level is, but the risk of you rolling a 1 and doing tiny damage is huge. So you just rarely did it back in the yonder days. You roll the dice. Of course, now with dice rollers and with dice apps, that's a little different. You can choose 36d6 or whatever it is and roll it, and it'll add it up for you. Don't have to do anything. And the good ones even have the sound, the dice rolling sound, which is cool too. However, so that was the question that was asked me. Do you roll the dice when you have this many dice and you add it all up? And I say unequivocally, yes, I roll the dice. And I have a dice roller I use occasionally, but I don't for this. I always, if there's a lot of damage coming from my side of the screen to that side of the screen, I'm going to roll the dice and I'm going to roll them on the table. The reason I do that is I want I want that extra level of fear. That's really not the word. Maybe nervousness. When they're watching you. I need more dice. Do you have a couple of sixes? I need 4 more d6s. And when they see that you're culling these dice from the herds, everybody's herd, and making your own huge herd of dice, that nervousness starts ratcheting up. The reality of the encounter that they're in is start to ratchet up. And it's not that you're trying to. Anxiety, there you go, that's perfect. It makes people anxious. The tension level goes up because they know it's coming. And then it's compounded when you roll those dice, and all those dice go clattering across the table behind the screen, hitting and bouncing everywhere. It just adds a level of, oh my sweet Lord, I'm fixing to die. And of course they're not, because they've probably got huge hit points. Hopefully they have huge hit points at this point, and they're going to get a saving throw and cut it in half. But it's one of the few times that, because I run fast combat rounds, or I try to, it's one of the few times that that I will slow my combat round down to stop and do a bunch of addition. Frequently I'll just roll right through. Like if I rarely roll a monster's hit dice. I just kind of pick a number in my head and multiply it by. If I want it to be tough, it's 7 or 8. If I want it to be weak, it's 4 or 5. Whatever, and I'll adjust as I need. So I will occasionally roll hit points, but not often. But when it comes to this. And mainly I do that to keep the speed of the combat going, unless I've prepared everything or it's in a module. But this this avalanche of dice is just awesome, and you stop and you're counting it up and you're going 9, 14, 13, 21. You know what? You shouldn't go backwards really, but 27, 32. And the players can just feel it, and it's just this great mechanical way to heighten the tension, to just make everybody a little bit more vested in what's going on. And it also is a nice warning flag. If it's like a dragon or a wizard, and depending on what game systems you use, but dragons can have multiple breath weapons. So this might be the first of many, such avalanches of dice coming their way. So it just adds this whole level of anxiety, and that's great words there, Excel. A whole level of anxiety and tension to the table that I strongly recommend that you do. Don't use your dice app. Don't shortcut the dice rolling in any way, shape, or form. Pick them up and roll them. I know you hate rolling in the open, but wouldn't it massively increase the tension if they get to watch all 24 of those D6s land in the middle of the table with a vast sea of dice? It's kind of fun. Yeah, no, it can be kind of cool, and you can do that. Definitely, and it does add a whole nother level to it. However, if you roll, say you do 24 D6 or whatever, and you roll a whole bunch of 5s and 6s, you might want to taper that, roll that back just a little bit. You add it up, 68 points of damage. Well, maybe we're going to do 45 points of damage, and you get into the risk. And then you get in the risk of the other side as well, because if you roll really bad, which I frequently do, then that your 24 hit dice dragon did 29 points of damage, and no one cares anymore. So you get into this dangerous zone when you go on that side of the screen. But your point's a good one. I mean, it is when they see all those dice clattering, it's frightening. It reminds me once, I think this is the meanest dice rolling I've ever done. It was against Todd, and Todd and I have this. And Todd and I have known each other for 35 years or whatever, and we've kind of got this combative we're very, very good friends, but we kind of got this combative relationship at the table. And he was asking if he saw something or whatever. Now this is AD&D, so it's pre-Siege Engine. I remember I caught him. I looked him square in the eye, and I picked up all my dice and I went, and you could hear him clattering all over. And I said, absolutely not, without ever looking at the dice. He fell out of his chair laughing. It was so funny. It was just absolutely hysterical. Yeah, he pushed me too far. It was really funny. I must have rolled like 20 dice and didn't look at any of them. Luck and hero points. Yeah, there you go. That'll change things. What about halving the number of dice and using a fixed number and rolling the remaining dice? That's not bad. I mean, if you want to speed it up, that's not a bad way to do it, because 12 dice and 24 dice sound about the same, and that will help you. Speed things up a little bit. because that's the biggest problem when you're rolling, when you roll 26d6 or whatever it is. Man, and adding it up's a pain in the butt. It's just a pain in the butt. That's when you add the circumstantial modifier of minus 20. Yeah, there you go. The 5e, there is no such thing as too much damage. PCs just don't die. Well, I haven't played it yet. I need to, but I need to just play Castles and Crusades, because there's plenty of chances of dying there. Like average rounded down for half the dice and roll the remainder for large numbers of dice. Yeah, I mean, that's not a bad way to do it. That's kind of a middle of the road where you still get the, you know, the tension and the excitement of all of these dice, and then the counting it up without it taking forever in a day. Because it can, because, you know, you're going to do it like I do it. You roll it, and it's going to batter all into your d20s and d4s and everything else, and you have to pick the dice, and it's just a big mess. Huge encounters are just a big mess. But you always roll your dice when it comes to this level, and just make them sweat just a little bit more. Sometimes I use old mini type rules, so basically it takes one decent hit die of the monster. Oh no, that's interesting. Now that's interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I just like, I'm a huge fan of rolling dice. I think that, you know, we've talked about this before. I think that players should be rolling dice. They shouldn't. Now the dice app is fine, but dice should be rolled as much as humanly possible. Even when we're designing Castles and Crusades, we actually try, when we create a class, we try to make it so that the player's rolling the dice as opposed to the CK. We always want the player to roll as much as humanly possible. And I think the great failing that we have is we don't use the D12 enough. The D12 is a cool dice, and it just doesn't get used enough. It's kind of a shame. I nearly did a TPK in 5e just 2 weeks ago. It's not as hard as you might think until they get up to higher levels. Still prefer CNC, but I play what the players want to play. Yeah, well, that's what you got to do sometimes. They like their game and they want to play it. Yeah, the D12 just looks cool. It just looks, you know, the D20 is kind of sloppy. It's got tiny little triangles on it. D6 is common. D4 is kind of cool, but it's a pain in the butt to roll. You pick it up, you can't pick it up. It's ridiculous. The D8's a good dice. D12 is a good dice. The D8 gets used a lot. D12, just not so much. It's kind of sad. It's just kind of sad. We need to make a game based around the D12. I once built a D12 system out of... There you go! I once built a D12 system out of spite. It worked, but wasn't very fun. But damn it, we rolled D12s. There you go. There you go. We will bring that back. Bastard sword two-handed D12. There you go. We need... Now, that is something I actually missed. What does the two-handed sword do in Castles and Crusades? Where's my player's hand? I missed that 3d6 of the AD&D era. I always liked that. I thought that was a good... It's 2d6, isn't it, for the two-handed sword? Yeah, it's 2d6. We should have kept the 3d6. I guess it's... Was AD&D... Yeah, there you go. Was it AD&D 3d6 against large and 2d6 against small and medium? I forget. They did the... Yep, there you go. They did that. I'm not even sure why we abandoned that. I would have to ask... I didn't. That would be Mac and Davis. We can blame them. I have to ask them why we did that. It might have been to appeal to 3rd edition. I'm really not sure. All right, so let's ramble on into GM's tricks of the trade. Man, I ate an apple today, and there's apple. Well, I ate part of an apple. There's apple crap everywhere. Anyways, so today, GM's tricks of the trade number 2. First off, for those of you for joining us, I'm Steven Chenault, and this is GM's tricks of the trade. Thank you for joining us. Give us a follow if you can. We are on Trick of the Trade number 2, and we're just doing some random thoughts today. If you have any comments, throw them in the chat there, and we will ramble them around all over the place. It went up and down with the size of the weapon wielder. 2d6, 2 to 12, 7 average. There you go. A d12 system would work well with penalties via division. Oh, see, here we go. Game designing plunges in. 23 minutes in. Let's get on to the subject at hand. Yeah, really. That is pretty good for me. All right, so the second one is rerolls. You know, it's amazing. I guess we roll dice so often that you actually have to have some kind of idea how you're going to do rerolls. And I always, if they land in the gutter of the book or the gutter of the notebook or whatever it is, and they come up, 3 different numbers, that's an automatic re-roll. I don't let them re-roll if it bounces off something and hits the thing. If it goes off the table, as it does so very, very often, and clatters across the floor, if we haven't set table rules, which we'll just say at the beginning of the game, table rules, and if someone says, if that's what the DM says, then the CK says, then you have to roll it on the table. If it falls off, you got to re-roll it. But if that's not the rule, if you don't see the dice, you can say, yeah, I want to keep it, yeah, I don't care, and then you're running across the room chasing your dice. But having some kind of pre-established pattern for the way you're going to do the dice is a good idea. Now, I never allow a reroll. If I've already engaged the player, it's your initiative, roll, and they say, well, I'm and then they roll and say, well, I didn't mean to roll that. No, you roll it. That's the roll you keep. Because the problem is this is eventually going to do a really high D20, a natural 20 or something like that. And if you don't have it mapped out, it's going to cause some grumbling without a doubt. Let's see, what else did I put up in there? Gutters, yeah, player didn't spawn, blah blah blah. Yeah, so now here's a good one. So you think you've engaged the player, but you actually haven't engaged the player, and they're over there just kind of rolling dice all over the place. I'll let them re-roll then. I'm pretty generous with re-rolls. I don't feel it needs to be, it needs to be stringent, and I found that generosity is reciprocated with players being pretty honest. I mean, they rarely, when they roll and they intended to, they keep it, even when they roll bad. And I got to tell you, these young people I'm playing with, and I don't know if this is a thing of video games or what it is, but I think older gamers tend to have, what is it, when you're watching a sporting event, you got to put on your good luck charm. You put your favorite shirt on or whatever. The Patriots can't win if I don't have my shirt on. That's the only football team I could think of. There's the Vikings, I guess, but I don't know very many football teams. But older gamers tend to take a moment before they roll. They'll look at their dice, or I don't know what the hell they're doing. But these young guys, man, they just throw dice like crazy. They're just, I made level. They roll the dice before I can even get the sentence out that you have made it to 3rd level. They're rolling their dice for the next hit points. There's no ceremony to it. There's no nothing. And I'm constantly getting onto them. It's jarring my brain constantly. I'm constantly saying, just hesitate, wait. You might roll better. And that makes no sense. It makes no sense whatsoever. It's all chance. I don't know. It's very interesting. Off the table never counts here. There you go. As long as you got it written down. Not written down, but you know what I mean. No table rules are fun when you're children. When you're old, you don't want to get out of your chair and shake. That's for sure. And dice go freaking everywhere. I mean, those things just don't ever stop, and they end up in the strangest places. If the dice leaves the table, it's an automatic 1. Oh, interesting. Or max, whichever is most disadvantaged. This dice will magically stay on the dice. Okay, so what Commander's doing there, he's trying to keep people from throwing their dice wildly off of his table. And so if you do, it's an automatic 1. Or fumble, whatever it is. That's hilarious. It is amazing how often the dice hit that table and shoot off to clatter across the floor to roll up underneath something that you can't see them. It's very strange. It might be that let the boys roll fast. Boy, they do too, man. I tell you, Jeremy, they're just like, it's just funnier than hell. It must have something to do with respawning in video games. I have no idea. It might be that something culturally that we witnessed is no longer witnessed by younger gamers prior to being gamers. There you go. Kind of like dial clocks compared to digital clocks. That's probably exactly right. Everything just moves a little bit faster these days. And it's not bad or good. It's just the way it is. Yeah, I don't know. It's very strange. And I don't really have any ceremonies. I guess when I used to play a lot, I would take my dice and take the dice and then I'd blow on them. I'd go and then do my hand like this and then roll, but only for super, super special things. But I hadn't done that in years. So I don't really have a ceremony. It's just jarring when they throw those dice so very fast. Aiden, it's your turn. Slow down. Say, I'm going to roll initiative or something. I don't know. It's just funny. back in the day, things were slow and hard, and we loved it. In my day, I've been saying that to my kids a lot lately. Back in my day, we were messing with the. I don't know what's happened to our Apple TV. You know, we got the little box thing, a little thingamabob, and it's gone haywire. It's gone absolutely haywire. You turn it on and you're watching. I was watching the X-Files last night, and suddenly the remote just starts doing stuff, and it scrolls to the menu, and then it's zipping around on the menu, and it's going up and down and all over the place. And I was watching TV with my daughter, she's in her 20s now, but she did that. It was doing this crazy stuff, and I could see her getting furious. And I immediately went to, in my day, all we had to do was go outside, climb up on the roof, grab the antenna, and twist it one way or the other, then come back down to see if it worked, then go back up. It was much easier in my day. Nothing's changed. Absolutely nothing has changed. It's a little less cold when you're hurling your Apple TV across the room trying to get it to work. That's about it. Shit just doesn't work. That's just, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It's just the way it is. We played with a guy that had crystal dice that we couldn't see the numbers. And he always said, just made it, after asking what. Yeah. Yeah, I hate those dice. Absolutely hate. I can't see them for the main reason. You know, I'm sitting there staring at the dice. That's funny. He always just made it. That's pretty lucky. My players only slow down for the really big rolls. Yeah, these guys don't slow down for anything. We used to see on a TV or among we used to see on TV or among elders rituals for luck using dice or films. Yeah, maybe that's where it comes from. I roll dice uphill both ways. There you go. That needs to be a T-shirt right there. I'd roll dice uphill both ways in my day. Now I don't know if you see that anymore. You may not, and I think that video games play so differently. You know, they die and they respawn and they get back into it. It's just, I don't know, it's the same game, essentially. You look at them, they get into their equipment, they choose equipment for whatever encounter, and they go into the encounter. It's the same thing we're doing at the table. It's just faster. And so I'm guessing that the dice is just the control, right? That's all it is. They click those buttons super fast. I'm kind of fast, not particularly fast, but I can get around GTA pretty good. And they roll the dice fast. I guess it's probably right, 𝐓𝐫𝐤𝐬. It's just different. Whatever. Everything now is immediate gratification. All the kids want to... I don't even think in this instance, 𝐓𝐫𝐤𝐬 is that. I think they just... Their brains are just move on. Respawn, move on. Re-roll, move... I don't know. It's very funny. It's very strange. I do thoroughly enjoy gaming with these younger people because it's a very different... The mindset is so different. The problem solving, you can tell that the games that they play are used to are different than these kind of long drawn out campaigns, and they love what's happening, but you can just tell there's a different mode of thinking. Remember turning that TV dial one or two to the right, and then back one or two to the channel. Oh yeah, you had to get up, and walk across. Well, your dad didn't get up. He had you get up, and walk across the room, and change the channel. The rabbit ears moving, the rabbit ears. Yeah, oh yeah. TV in the good old days. Who is it? Mark Sandy, the guy he works part-time for us. He still has rabbit ears on his TV. He refuses to pay for cable. He watches, what is it? Car 54? Car 54 over and over and over again. Always slapped the TV a couple times. You know, it's funny, Virtual Wizard, you say that, because you'd go up to the TV and you'd slam it. What purpose did that serve? Did it shake the vacuum tube or something? Well, I mean, how did that fix the signal? Because I can tell you, last night I got so irritated. I was watching the X-Files, and I was really enjoying it, and it did this weird remote thing. But the fifth time it did it, I didn't slap the Apple remote, but I did unplug it, and I threw it onto the ground, and it bounced a couple of times. It didn't fix it. It didn't make it worse, but it didn't fix it. It wasn't the remote. It was the Apple box. We got to go buy a new one today because it's not working anymore. But maybe it did break it. But what did that slap in the TV do? Children and grognards are natural enemies like power gamers and grognards. Gamers and grognards are grognards and grognards. Damn grognards. All those old people. 𝐓𝐫𝐤𝐬, first-person online games. It's a stream of respawning avatars racing to die again. I watched Pete one day. This my middle child, my oldest son. He was playing GTA online, and this guy spawned. Pete kills him. And this guy spawned, and right where he died, and Pete killed him again. The guy spawned, and Pete killed him again. The guy spawned, and Pete killed him again. You could hear that guy yelling over there. He was so mad. It was so funny. Having your kid brother hold the rabbit's ears for an hour. Yep, there you go. I resemble that remark. Maybe a time crunch or higher pace gaming, higher pace living. There you go. Yeah, I remember being told to go over to hit fast forward on the VHS during ads. My father would find it hilarious to have me rush across the room to try and fast forward the light. There you go. It makes you feel better. How's it going, Green Luton? We've gone way off GM's tricks of the trade and are wandering in some kind of strange video rabbit ear world. Like cussing when hurt. Yeah. What did my dad used to say? You only cuss if someone's around you, because if no one's around you, no one cares. I mean, there's no one to show off to or get sympathy from, so you just don't do it. 20th century tech can be slapped. 21st century tech requires prayers. Yeah, well, let me tell you, bouncing it off the floor did not help the Apple TV at all. Caveman brain still persists to this very day. It mostly comes out when technology doesn't work and we start beating it like an piece of dirt. Hell yes. Absolutely. I remember a time I asked a friend if he rewound my DVD movie that I left him, and he apologized for getting. There you go. That's just mean. Yeah, I remember Blockbuster. What was it? Be kind to rewind. Was that the? I remember those days. Be kind, rewind. There you go. All right, so onto the third trick of the trade. We might actually get this under the wire if we keep steaming along. So experience points, yeah, this is just something I've kind of started doing in the last few years. I was a little boy back then, but you remember it. And there's a Blockbuster out there somewhere. I saw a special on it. I don't miss the Blockbuster days so much. It was cool. I mean, you got to see all these movies, and it was easier to look for stuff than it is on the streaming services. But I do kind of like sitting on my couch. So, I remember having a special device just for rewinding. I remember that, too. It was like a little thing you could put in and turn it, right? Oh, wait, is that a cassette tape? I don't quite go back to 8 tracks. I do remember 8 tracks. My oldest brother had 8-track tapes, but I do remember cassette tapes. Most of my music was on cassette. Cringes at Cabot's mention. Won't trust Canadian as a rogue. There you go. All right, so on to experience points. So this is something I've started doing the last few years. I will write down the experience points that I'm going to award the players that night, and then I'll circle it. Sometimes I'll put it down just so that I know when I gave experience points. When I first began, I'd actually ask them, what their target experience was, and I would track it for the next level. I would track it behind the screens, and I would keep detailed notes, and there would be these columns with all this addition and all this crap, and then I would tell them when they made level. You've made second level. You now have 2014 experience points. What do you need for third level? And then I'd create another experience chart. You can go into my old notes, and there's hundreds of these things, piled all over the place, but okay, yeah. So we're doing a free PDF giveaway here in a little while. Tim just gave me some information on it. But at any rate, so we'll announce that here soon. At any rate, I've streamlined all of that. I let the players handle it on their end. I give it to them about every 3 games or so. That way, I'm not responsible for it. If I lose it, I don't. It's on them. And I just trust they're going to add it up correctly. Very few people cheat about this stuff. There's really no gain to it, and there's peer pressure and all kinds of stuff that kind of play into not doing it. And then if you have written it down and circled it, if you need to go back and check, maybe you missed something, maybe you didn't give experience points for a magic item or what have you, you've got all your scribbled notes, and then you've got your experience points circled and marked. This is when I gave this experience point, and move on. So that's the third trick of the trade. Just track the experience points kind of continually and constantly. This also gives the players something to they can see when they're close, so they can start getting more aggressive or role play more, whatever it is that brings experience points in your game. They might get more engaged because they're only 150 experience points from the next level or what have you. So just my advice is to kick it across the screen, let them handle that and let them do it. But on your end, just make sure you clearly mark that you gave it. And my mark is a circle. If it's got a circle around it, I know I gave it to them. If I've got notes on experience points and it doesn't have a circle around it, I know I didn't give it to them. And then I can roll that out. Do you calculate XP by the book or award it based on GM fiat? Almost completely GM fiat at this point. I used to do it very, very much by the book. And it was worse because I would divide it up by the amount of damage that you did in combat or the spells that you used. So if you did 70% of the damage to that hill giant, you got 70% of the experience points, and everybody else got less. It made the players very aggressive in those days, but it made level, and I gave nothing for role-playing, nothing for solving problems, nothing for treasure, and it made level advancement extraordinarily slow. We averaged about 1 level every year and a half, maybe a year or something like that. I've since kind of quit doing that. I really like to kind of free range it, ideas, all kinds of stuff. I give this kind of base experience points for encounters and base experience points for kind of what I want them to get if they've achieved at this. It helps accelerate level gain a little faster, which is cool. I mean, I don't mind a slow level build. I really don't. I think there's so many good aspects to slow level acquisition that from character building to just the stories that your players are going to have. Because to gain second level, they had to play 5 games as opposed to 1. There's so many more stories. By the time they're 15th level, that the stories that they have are legion. Good, bad, indifferent. They're all stories, and it's part of it. It makes that character more their own, more a person, more somebody who's part of this world. It's just a better way to do it, I think. But it's mostly fiat these days. I do ratchet it down a little bit. I really don't. I think magic items give too much experience points, so that's kind of an issue. So I kind of ratchet that back some. Do you tend to give many XP for creative play or particular roleplay elements, or is it just a small bonus at the end of the day? That kind of varies. I used to, one of the things that when I evolved into this kind of new way, if you had good ideas, I would give that person more experience point. And I don't want to sound like a communist at the moment, but but part of the problem with that is very rarely are these ideas done in a vacuum. There's a bunch of people throwing stuff around constantly, and they're trying to figure stuff out as a group. For the most part, not always. Frequently, it's not a group; it's one person and chaos from me. But so I started to kind of, when they succeeded at something, I would give them more. Now, if someone plays really well or does something really cool, I give them extra experience points, and I let them know because that really kind of helps people think, one, that extra effort that I put in paid off, and 2, the other players will be like, hey, this is cool. If I start thinking out of the box, and that's really what I want everyone to do, if I'm thinking out of the box, then I might get more experience points and gain that second level even faster. So it's kind of a mixed bag for me. Call of Cthulhu got me to using milestones, but I never reward other players for but I still reward other. There's a key word difference there, Geek Preacher. I changed still into never. I don't know why, but I still reward other players for good role playing. Yeah, absolutely. XP is now almost an afterthought to me. Yeah, it's very funny too that the more experienced a GM I have become, I think I don't think about it too much. With XP systems, it made 15 levels feel like a saga. The party's saga. Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing. That's one reason I stick with it, and I don't just kind of roll them up fast. I want them to have games. I want there to be real events that go from level 1 to level 4 or 5, 10, whatever, because then they've got that experience points. They've got that actual experience from the game. That's Pinko talks. You can't use the word collective anymore. The communists ruined the word comrades. Comrade is a great word about, fellows fighting together in the struggle together. But the communists, they've ruined it. The damn commies. Anyway, remember H4, Throne of Bloodstone, levels 18 to 100? I do not remember that. That's funny. Willie the Rat, did you pick up any flesh moose milk there? I did not. Oh, you're asking Willie that. There you go. It's tough when you're a few levels lower than the other players because it's hard to feel like you're contributing. I'm experiencing this in one game I'm playing in right now. That's actually a good GM's trick to the trade on how to handle level disparity in the game, because someone loses a character at their 4th level and someone dies and they want to start in at first, which is usually what happens. You got a little bit of an issue going on. The commies ruined a lot of things. That's why I get accused of being one. Well, how do you get accused of being a commie? Oh, because you ruined stuff? I do the monster XP. That's funny. I do the monster XP, the treasure XP, as I don't give much, and session XP plus bonus role playing. That's kind of how I do it, but I bundle it all together. You know, it's one big kind of package deal. I don't kind of figure it all up. Yeah, I had that in one game. They had me start 2 levels below the party when I started, and the party had high-powered magic items and were generally min-maxed. Oh, yeah, that's not good. With a regular character 2 levels below and no special equipment. Oh, yeah, I felt like I was just tagging along. Yeah, that's a problem with min-maxing and all of that stuff. That's one of the many problems. Yeah, that's tough. We had a bit of a thaw up here, and the ice roads melted last week. Couldn't get to town. There you go. Canada. All right, so we're stumbling towards Trick of the Trade number 4. So which was this one? Blah blah blah. Oh yeah. So this is a, for those of you who are playing games that require attribute checks. Castles and Crusades obviously falls into this. 5th edition falls into this. Advanced Dungeons and Dragons does as well. Feat skills, that would be any version of D&D probably. Swords and Wizards. I don't know. Anyways, whatever games that. So one of the things I think that castle keepers do, or GMs do, is they get caught up in wanting the players to have to solve things or struggle through everything, or there's to be a level of chance. And sometimes there just doesn't need to be a level of chance. I can't count the number of times I've said, roll a spot check, and everyone at the table failed the spot check when I really needed them to see the secret door or whatever it is. And it's pretty amazing how often, even if you give them generous terms, that they still roll insanely low. So this is kind of what Trick of the Trade is for. I don't know what I title it. Know how to show. I don't even know when to show. I don't even know what the hell that means. But just know when to say, you don't need a check. You see this. You hear this. This is what you can do. You know, this type of stuff. Just skip the check. Don't ask them to make a check. Describe the situation as is and let them go. You see the secret door. What do you do? That type of thing. It's very, very easy to get caught up in trying to make players struggle through everything that you want them to struggle, everything at the table, but it's not necessary, and it sometimes can be actually, it can inhibit play quite a bit. So just know when you're going into a situation, take an extra second or two and think to yourself, okay, do they need to make a check for this or not? And if they don't, just let them see it, hear it, whatever it is. Stephen, would you like some fermented moose milk? No, Canadian gamer, I would not. I appreciate the offer, though. It's an acquired taste, much like I imagine. It's an acquired taste. Never trust the dice. Never trust the dice. That's another great t-shirt right there. Never trust the dice, because they're going to fail you, and you're going to be sitting back there. And this has happened to me so many times with these young guys, because I just keep instinctively telling them to roll, and I shouldn't. They just hear it, or whatever it is. It's super fascinating hearing y'all talk about level disparity, because modern gamers avoid that scenario like the plague. Games that aren't C and C or SR tend to have either done away with experience or classes, or they standardize the EXP required to level up. This means the party is always the same level, and in the eventuality that someone dies, the most common practice is to give them a new character at the same level as the party. Just a very interesting difference. It is. Now, that is actually one way. So even in AD&D and C&C, when I've had high-level characters die, I will sometimes have them, if the new player wants to, play something new, a new class, whatever, they'll come in at 2 or 3 levels lower than, and that'll be one of my tricks of the trade on that. They'll come in 2 to 3 levels lower than, so they're not completely knocked off of kilter and can't do anything, but yet they got to work some to get to where the other players are. It works for the most part. It works fairly well. It does take away from that build your own character. And if you start in at 12th level, then you've got to create some kind of, for my game, if it's a campaign, which I usually run, you've got to create some kind of backdrop so that you know where you've come from and we can weave it into the narrative. That's interesting about a lot of games having done away with it altogether. I think I'm a huge fan of level progression. I understand all the other progressions and all the other stuff. I'm just a huge fan of it because I like the idea of them working towards something. I've started to add a special hunk if they make a roll, but give them the observation that they need. Oh, no, that's interesting. That's a good idea. So if they roll anyways, and they see it, and that way they at least feel like they're working towards it. They're not just giving it to them. That's a good way to do it. Yeah. roll, you just make it. I let people tell me how they're searching to give them a bonus on the roll. If you make it sound really good, then you get an even better bonus. Yeah, that's a great idea. That's a great way to do it. But you know, Geek Preacher, sometimes they're going to miss it anyways. What did Furniture Wizard say? Never trust the dice. Oh, we're doing a giveaway very soon. I forgot all about the giveaway. Okay, so there's no raffle. It's just a giveaway. And there's the link. Click it and download it and enjoy. I have no idea what it is. Adventures Day of the Worm. Amazing Adventures Day of the Worm. A great adventure written by Jason Vey. And hopefully that plunges you into amazing adventures. Let's see. Never trust the dice and always trust the dice. And Solo trust the dice and see what happens. How are you making out with the tome? Approved. No, I had to resubmit the box yesterday. No, today? I don't know. Either yesterday or today. There was a problem with one of the images. So the box should be printing hopefully by Monday. And then once that is officially greenlit from the printers, that means they'll be in my hands in about 2 to 3 weeks. We've got some edits to put into the memorial tomb, and then we're going to knock that sucker out. If you miss a few milestone sessions in 5e, you'll be lower than the rest of the party, and that's what's happening in the game I'm in right now. DM Samuel tried killing us with an Eldritch Goblin last night. Awesome. You'll need to take the full stop out of the URL if you click on it. I gave in and decided to go with milestones in my campaign. I've decided that I'm not doing that again. So Phantom did not like the milestones. There you go. All right, we're running out of time. We're going to do this last... Okay, so this last Trigger the Trade, Curb Your Enthusiasm, a show that I thoroughly enjoy. This is, I've talked to a few gamers about this over the years, where you've got all of these great, grandiose ideas and fantastic plots and campaign arcs that you want to bring into the table, but they get wrecked for a variety of reasons. Their characters aren't interested, they go a different direction, they roll poorly on their dice, they didn't see the secret door that led to the Magic Kingdom, whatever it is, something goes awry. So I recommend that you develop these things in your head, lots of them, a whole bunch of them, and you just start dropping seeds of these things at your table, at the game, where they're just cropping up, so that later you can pull them out if you need to, or you can develop them if the characters show interest, or you can drop them if they don't. They're there, and you have invested so much of your own time and your own emotion into creating this whole arc that no one wants to go on. So seed your game with arcs that you want to do. Allow them to kind of gently choose one, accidentally or purposely or whatever it is, and then begin developing that one. And the nice thing about that is it doesn't mean that these other themes that you had wanted to explore that you have to abandon. Now that you know they want to go to the Magic Kingdom through the secret door, you can take, the goblin treasure in the strongbox and weave it into that adventure and just build it from there. So to save yourselves lots of disappointment and lots of frustration, which comes with creating huge campaign arcs, and I've been there many times. Test it out. Test the waters a little bit before you go in too deep, because you'll end up losing a lot of time and sleep and energy. And when you have, and it's happened to me a number of times, when you have a huge campaign that you're very excited about that falls apart for whatever reason it is, and there's millions of reasons that it can fall apart, it's very frustrating, and it's very hard to get your groove back where you want to get back behind the screen and do something again. So the last one is just curb your enthusiasm. Just hold it in a little bit. Tease them with what you're sending out, and then build it as it goes, and you'll find that it's better. Now you got to tailor it. Sometimes you're gonna have to tailor it. One character may pick up this arc and another one not, so you may have to tailor it a little bit to drag the other one in. But definitely everything back until you ratchet everything back until you have a better command of what they are going to do. The store link didn't work, but I just went to the troll store page and searched for that digital. There we go. All right. I tried once with those bacon shakes at bacon shakes. Who would ever kill and eat a cute little beaver? What does this have to do with Larry David? It's curbing your enthusiasm. The thing is, you run games. GMs we all do get very excited about the game that we've developed, the arc that we've developed, all of these cool concepts. You need to ratchet that back. You need to curb your enthusiasm until they're fully invested in the game. Then unleash and go and build all that you want to build. But until they've dove in, I would hold off on that. Don't knock it till you try it. And there you go. Let's see. All right. Well, Canadian and Willie, I don't want to answer. You guys are both from Canada, so I feel as if you guys are culturally bonding over this moose. What is it? Moose beer? Moose milk? Moose milk? Is that what you said? Was it moose milk? There you go. Well, send down to the lower 48. Or they're messing with us. Yeah, either way. Who knows? All right, well, that's it for Tricks of the Trade. Number 79. No, it's good from another Canadian. There you go. That's 3 Canadians on board. It's got to be real, right? Not all of us Canadians are into moose-flavored items. Well, you know, I'm from Arkansas, so we eat and drink some strange stuff down here. What was it, that Arkansas Moonshine? There's a company, actually, this old moonshiner. This guy ran moonshine out of around Newport Ways for decades. He made it in stills and sold it illegally. He went legit, like, I don't know, it's got to be 10 years now, 7, 8 years ago. He went legit, and you can buy Arkansas. Well, I hadn't gotten it in a while, but you can buy Arkansas moonshine at the liquor store. It is some stout stuff, let me tell you. It is some stout stuff. That's what I need to bring Tim some Arkansas moonshine up to the cabin up there before he heads back to me. All right, everybody. That's it for GM's Tricks of the Trade, number 79. Next week, we'll be back for Art of War. But before then, we will be here on Tuesday for Ask Me Anything, and then GM's Tricks of the Trade on Thursday, both at 4 o'clock. Join us then. And on the 14th, I believe that's the date we've picked, we're going to do a week-long 14th of March, 14th or 15th of March, we're going to do a week-long kind of extravaganza of just like an Ask Me Anything every day, some GM's Tricks of the Trade, multiple GM's Tricks of the Trade. We're going to try to get some guests in, some other people to join us. So all kinds of goobly-goop going on here on the Twitch stream in about 2 weeks. And by then, I am really hoping that we've wrapped up so many of these Kickstarters that we're able to celebrate that all here in this wild and woolly burger world of Twitch. At any rate, my birthday is on March 16th. There you go, Bifford. You're right in the middle of it. Hey, isn't the Ides of March 15th, right? That's when Julius Caesar was stabbed. Yeah, there you go. Lermus and I were thinking alike. There you go. Trollpalooza. So during the Ides of March and also Bifford's birthday, we're going to be doing a huge week-long Twitch stream. Thank you all for showing up. Very much appreciate it. Love talking to you guys. I don't know what I'm doing for dinner tonight. Oh, tacos. We're having tacos. So I am off and to do that. And you guys have a great rest of your week and a wonderful weekend. And we will see and talk to you next week. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, 𝐓𝐫𝐢𝐜𝐤, Commander Knight, M5. Talk to you all later.